Welcome back, everybody, to the Circle That podcast. Hope you missed us. On this special episode, we talk about everything Wicked, also go into some facts about the film world, and maybe some takes on how not to let burnout get to you so much. Welcome back, everybody, and we hope you enjoy.
All right, welcome everybody to take 3 of the Circle That podcast. How's it going, Devin?
It's going good. How are you, Josiah?
I'm doing well, ready to get back in the groove of things. We took a little break because we were busy doing the things that Circle That is about. A little break. It was like 4 months or something.
That's like a big break.
But by this rate, we'll finish our first season by like 2045.
Yeah. So sorry about that, guys. We were thinking about when we were doing a little debrief of this podcast episode, we were like, man, we decided to add this huge project on our busiest times. So sorry about that, but we're back now.
We are back. We're huge amounts of back.
Huge amounts of back.
But go ahead and take us through our first quick take, Devin.
All right, guys. So recently, Josiah and I got the pleasure to watch Wicked. And if you don't know about Wicked, it's about 2 females who
off to a great start here.
who go to school together, and that follows their journey of friendship to demise.
I feel like you need to say it's about the Wizard of Oz. I feel like that's an important part of Wicked.
It is what happens before the Wizard of Oz. So it's a origin story or prequel of how the Wizard of Oz comes to be.
Right.
That's what it's about. So for me personally, I know Wicked is, or at least the movie is based off of the musical, Broadway musical. I've never personally gone and see the Broadway musical. I can't tell you what it's about. I'm assuming it's like the movie. I'm sure there's total stuff that's different, whatever. But I enjoyed it. I definitely think it was a good film. One thing that kind of took me out was, sadly, of how many memes I've seen of the songs of social media. So if you haven't seen, what people have been doing is taking the most popular songs from the film and putting other clips of the film over it or a meme over it. So when I was sitting in the movie theater watching the film, when those popular songs would come on, it would just take me out because I would want to laugh when I'm supposed to be taking this serious because I'm just envisioning these memes happening. But other than that, it was good. I liked the choreography in it because if you didn't know, the guy that directed this film is the guy that directed Step Up, which is a bunch of dance films. So he knows how to shoot choreography parts and like dance scenes. So I specifically like those the most.
Yeah, I agree. The choreography was really good. I don't watch a ton of musicals, but I really did quite enjoy it. And I think the up until like halfway through the film, I was thinking to myself, this shouldn't be a musical. I was like, I don't think the music is adding anything to the story. Obviously, this is based off of a Broadway play. I hadn't seen the play, but it's a very famous play, so it makes sense that it's musical. But I was like, this shouldn't be a musical. Up until it got to like halfway through, there's a very important middle scene where music plays a really huge role in the story and like the character development.
Yep.
It's the scene in like when they go out from the school and they're like dancing at the club or whatever.
Yeah.
And that scene, I was like, okay, now I get why it's musical. The music's actually important and stuff like that. But yeah, I did quite enjoy it. I think I have some problems with the cinematography, actually. I think it was good cinematography, but it has a certain element of being a little bit too clean at times. Like some scenes looked really good. Like a lot of the night scenes looked very like textured and cool, but some of the day scenes seemed very like super ultra flat lighting, almost like Barbie. But in Barbie, it was intentional because it's meant to feel like a plastic world. Right. Whereas Wizard of Oz, to me, felt like more fantasy, not like fake. But I guess parts of it are kind of fakeish. That's kind of meant to be like, that's kind of the characters are kind of acting fake-ish, I guess.
Maybe the point of them shooting it like that is to think about, is she seeing it like this? Like, is her point of view
That's true.
fake?
Maybe that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. That's a very good point because it may have, because by the end it wasn't shot like that.
Right.
Like the ending stuff was very high contrast.
Like I get what you're saying. Like it was kind of
in the beginning,
bland.
It was very like, felt like a commercial almost the way they shot it.
It felt too clean, which probably maybe why they were doing that. School is supposed to show like the best of best and like supposed to be perfect, and then when like stuff goes wrong, it's shying away from that perfect looking shot or feel of the movie.
Yeah. I probably I would love to revisit Wicked at some point and talk about it from an audio perspective because I've heard varying opinions about the audio wise of it. Because I've heard some people say, they recorded it all on set. And I think that led them to make some interesting, and by interesting, I mean maybe less than ideal decisions in post-production of how they mixed the vocals because I thought the mix wasn't the best personally. But I do think it's cool that they captured everything live on set. So I don't know. But I need to do more study about that before I can really comment on that.
If they did do it live, that's a cool concept. But
I think they did. I just think here's bird's eye view of what I think happened. I think they recorded it. They recorded like 80% of it live on set.
Right.
But I think, and then they did all their mixing and made it sound great and everything like that.
Right.
But then they were like, we mixed this so well, people aren't going to believe us when we tell people that we record it live on set. So let's make it sound a little bad so that people believe us when we say that, which I think it's kind of one of those things where like you're going for the headline rather than what's best for the film. You know what I'm saying? Like they really wanted it to be a big thing. Like, wow, they recorded live on set and that's such a huge deal, rather than just thinking, how do we make the best sound possible? Yeah. So that's my only issue. But again, I haven't studied it enough to really make that full claim because I need to study post-production more of that particular film. So I don't know. Yep. But I did enjoy the film. I went into expecting it to be really dumb and stupid. And I actually thought it was actually like a really good film. I'm excited for part 2.
I didn't expect it to be dumb or stupid. I just didn't have much interest in it because I just haven't seen the musical. I've also never seen Wizard of Oz fully.
What? I forgot you haven't seen Wizard of Oz.
I've never seen the Wizard of Oz like fully. I know everything about. I know everything about Wizard of Oz. Okay. I can tell you what it's about. I have the characters. I just have never sat down and watched the entire film.
Wizard of Oz.
Like I know it's a good film, and I know like the tragic history of them.
It's
like,
not a good film, but it's important.
Using fake snow, and everybody got cancer from it. And,
Wait, what?
Did you not know about that?
I didn't know that.
So in the production of the Wizard of Oz. Obviously, the Wizard of Oz was made in like the 40s, I think it was.
Like the first color film. So yeah, I think
it was like around the 40s.
Let me look.
There's a chemical that they used for the fake snow in it, and it was actually poisonous to everybody.
What?
And they didn't say it because they didn't know this, and it got in a bunch of people's throats. So the main actress ended up getting throat cancer later on in life from that because there was like a ton of this chemical, and like a bunch of other people got cancer from it. It was like really dangerous.
Took one for the team.
And then also, I forgot like exactly what happened. Somebody got like seriously injured on the set. Like there's a bunch of horror stories.
I just looked it up. The Wizard of Oz came out in 1939.
Right, so 1930s.
That's crazy.
So yeah, there's a whole debrief. Like, we want to have an episode of just the Wizard of Oz horror aspects of it, of filming it. There's a ton of stories about like how a bunch of people got cancer from the chemical they were using for the snow, and then people getting hurt on set.
Okay, this is the whole episode. We gotta,
dude. We're just debriefing into
crazy
right now.
No. No, I mean like we should make a whole episode.
No, yeah. There's
so much.
There's
so interesting. Dang, that's crazy. All right, well, until then, let's go ahead and dive into what happened this week in film. So I have a few kind of smaller announcements, not a ton of crazy gear stuff happened. One interesting gear thing that happened recently was Blackmagic's 12K large format camera was just approved by Netflix, which is really cool because it's only 15K for the body. And I absolutely love what Blackmagic has been doing lately, really trying to bring some of that really high performing cinema cameras down to a like affordable price, comparatively. Like they're really, swinging punches with Arri and Red for like literally 10% of the price, which is absolutely insane. So I think that's really cool. And I think it's actually going to make Arri and Red cameras better because they can no longer kind of at this point, like Arri can no longer say, well, if you want to shoot large format, you have to buy a camera because literally no one else has a large format camera, which obviously as Sony and Red has been coming up as well, but especially seeing someone in the more like prosumer market, which Blackmagic, this is not a prosumer camera. This is a professional camera, 100%, but it's at more prosumer prices, which is really, really cool. And I think that will help Arri start to have to actually innovate a bit more and bring things to their models that actually set them apart from the competition, because it's not like in the past where they just had no competition. So I'm really excited to see how that's going down with all the new Blackmagic models. And the 17K IMAX camera, that when that releases, that'll be crazy because so Blackmagic essentially took this camera, the 12K, and they just basically copied the sensor and stuck two of them together to make IMAX format. Right. And it will be like the cheapest IMAX camera ever.
So what you're saying is I can take out a loan and make an IMAX movie.
Yes, 100%. I forget what the retail is for the 17K. Let me look it up.
We're making Oppenheimer too, okay, guys? That was made for IMAX, so we're going to make Oppenheimer too.
Yeah. The 30K. So $30,000 for an IMAX camera.
So basically the price of a Red
format is crazy. Yeah, that's actually crazy.
That is actually crazy. So for the price of a Red, you can have an IMAX camera. An IMAX camera.
All right, next, this is another small little thing, but Shure just released like the perfect microphone for podcasters. So if any of you guys are into audio, you've probably seen the SM7B. It's like the podcast microphone. Devin, do you know what the SM7B is by the name? I will. You'll know it, but when you see it, let me show you a photo. Okay, this microphone.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've seen that.
Exactly. It is the de facto podcast microphone.
That's the podcast microphone.
What Shure just announced is one of these microphones, but they have put an audio interface on the back of it.
Oh.
So you can plug it directly into your computer, and it has a second input. So you can plug another microphone into it, and it's its own interface, so it's very portable.
Yeah.
And I think retails for $350 if I'm not mistaken, which I think is not the cheapest thing in the world, but I think it's pretty reasonable for what it can do for being an audio interface and a microphone. So
seems reasonable.
That's going to be kind of like, if you want to get into a podcasting, that's going to be like the mic to get.
Yeah.
And it has built-in headphone amp in it, so it's pretty cool. So the M7i, kind of a weird name. I don't know why they didn't stick with it like the 7B name system, but just choose a different like letter or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It can do 24-bit audio. The XLR input can do 60 dB of gain with 48 phantom power. So yeah, nothing too crazy, but just like a really nice, convenient all-in-one package for podcasting, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, seems pretty cool.
And then the biggest news that I saw came out is that Instagram just announced their new Edits app. Which, have you heard of this, Devin? Do you know what this is?
I've heard of it because CapCut is gone now.
Yep, it's literally right when CapCut is gone, along with TikTok or whatever's going to happen with that. Instagram announced Instagram Edits, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's just a CapCut clone," which it definitely can do. CapCut, 100%, it can do what CapCut does. But as I was studying it, it seems like it's doing a lot more than that. It seemed to be not so much a CapCut clone, but more of a CapCut replacement.
But is it better? Free?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because CapCut's free. I mean, technically it's not if you have the premium, but you can still edit.
It says
for free,
but I don't know. I mean, every
it's probably going to have a premium version of it.
I don't know. I'm on the App Store right now. It doesn't say any in that purchase. It just says
is it out now?
It's not out. It's pre-order, so it's going to come out March 13th. So they're currently developing it. But the cool thing about it is that it actually syncs with your Instagram account. So you can do everything CapCut does. You can make a reel, different formats, different editing, all that good stuff. But when you post the reel, it will, in the Edits app, give you analytics about that reel. So it's kind of like YouTube Studio, but for Instagram Reels.
Interesting.
And so you can literally see how a reel performs. It's really cool. You can actually see like when people skip your reel. So at what point in the video you lost the viewer's attention, essentially.
I mean, that's very useful.
So it is. So you can see here, it shows you, I'll show you a photo. It shows you analytics for your Reels inside.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
So it's kind of like a nice all-in-one Instagram Reels creator app, I guess. So if you're into that sort of thing, it could be pretty useful. We can do up to 10 minutes long. And it looks like it's limited to Instagram to 1080, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, Instagram itself is limited to 1080, so that's
what you're going to
do anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the TikTok ban that happened, Meta, if you don't know, Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. Meta is trying to catch back up with TikTok and like kind of overlap it because they want to get the user impact that TikTok has. But a lot of things where they're going wrong is where the interface is not meant for it in a sense. Like TikTok with the For You page and stuff like that, it's a very detailed package that they have worked out, and Instagram's trying to make it like that, but it's just not there because I don't think Instagram's supposed to be meant for like a TikTok scenario, if you get what I'm saying. Like TikTok is supposed to be...
They're definitely trying to make it one, that's for sure. Yeah,
TikTok's supposed to be kind of I'm going to show you what you like, and Instagram's like a wide variety of stuff, but they're trying to change it to where it's
change the algorithm.
Only thing where it's going to be like For You page.
Interesting.
So definitely keep an eye on what Meta's trying to do with
I'm so curious how it's all going to go down. But yeah, that's kind of what happened this week in film. Devin, why don't you walk us through what happened in the box office?
All right, guys. So we're looking at over the weekend results of the box office. So we're looking at January 17th to the 19th. The number one spot right now is One of Them Days, which grossed $14 million, followed by Mufasa, The Lion King, that this past weekend grossed $12 million, but total gross so far is $210 million. One of Them Days has only grossed $14 million so far because it had just opened. I think it opened on Friday. And then following that is the new Wolfman film, which has grossed $13 million, and it also just opened. And then rounding off is Sonic the Hedgehog 3, still up there, has grossed this past weekend $8.6 million, total gross $219 million.
Wow.
So Mufasa and Sonic have been out for 5 weeks, and they're still on the top 5 list, which is pretty good. It means that they're definitely getting the attention that they deserve, and fans are still wanting to go see it. So that's good.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Sonic. I haven't seen any of the Sonic films yet, but I mean,
Sonic 3 is phenomenal. Just think of John Wick mixed with Sonic.
that's what people keep telling me. Is Keanu in it?
Keanu plays Shadow. He plays the
that's
bad guy
right.
in it.
Yeah.
But like the way they made Shadow is literally like
John Wick.
John Wick. He just
so
wants
funny.
to kill everybody.
We need to make a John Wick episode because I was rewatching. I'm rewatching the John Wick series right now, and
Phenomenal series.
They're like actually really. I forgot how good they are, so we need to.
They are
look at that.
a phenomenal.
But you
series.
mentioned Mufasa, and I think that
Mufasa.
I think we should talk about that.
What did you say, my
because,
brother?
dude? Like all these live action remakes of animated films,
yeah, don't get me
are not
started
the
on them.
move. I'm sorry.
They're money grabbers.
Because listen, it's first of all, films that are made for animation, people don't just decide, you know what, let's just write a normal film and let's just make it animated. No, it's animated films are written differently because the whole point of animation is that it allows you to suspend disbelief really, really easily because it's animated, so anything can happen.
Yeah.
And so to try to cram that back into the real world, you're gonna either it's going to either feel like uncanny or you're going to neuter the story to fit in a real world scenario.
What I'll say about this, the Mufasa one, it is technically an original story in a sense because we've never had just a Mufasa movie. We just had Lion King.
Oh, it's not like a remake. It actually is. Oh,
So
okay.
they already did the Lion King remake.
Right, that must be what I'm thinking of.
And this story is a live action one, but it follows Mufasa before, because in Lion King he's like grown up
Right.
Mufasa. This is his origin story.
So
of
they're
how
like
he became-
expanding the live action universe.
But what doesn't make sense is in this film Mufasa is like a stray, and Scar's the child supposed to be
Wait,
the
so
king.
they changed it?
So
It's not canon, basically?
Mufasa is a stray that joins Scar's family, and he has to like prove himself to that family that he deserves to be a
Weird.
king, even though
So-
that doesn't really make sense.
So it's like Loki? He's like
yeah, he's like Loki. He's just
But
adopted.
it's reversed? That's
Yeah.
so weird. That's so weird.
But what more ticks me off is if you haven't seen, there's a new, well, not new. There is How to Train Your Dragon coming out. That is live action. That is, from what I've heard, shot for shot.
It is. I saw the
live
trailer
action.
and it's literally like shot for shot. Like the animation is literally identical.
Well, they're
It's just
also
there's a
doing that
real
with
person.
Moana right now. Moana live action.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know about this?
No.
Moana is being shot right now, live action,
so
shot for
stupid.
shot. They're probably going to wrap
I mean,
in
I don't
the
think
next
Moana's
couple
all
of
that
weeks.
anyways, but
I don't.
Still.
Me either. But
again, that's such an animated film. Like, why would you?
it's such a. I think these companies get themselves in a hole where they just run up all this money on films that don't perform well. So they're like, let's just
We need a guaranteed win. basically.
let's go back to what worked, but just make it live action because it's just easy in a sense. I don't think originality.
Well, that's the
is
thing.
coming that
I watched some of the
easily.
trailer, and the sad part is like the Toothless looks like the same. Like they changed his like the model a little bit so it feels a little bit more realistic, but essentially it's like same animation. But that's the sad part though. The animation looked like they dialed it back a little bit to where it was a little bit less like bouncy and fun, a little bit more like heavy and real feeling.
Yeah.
But that takes away from his character. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes him feel more like a monster and less like his puppy dog, which is essentially what Toothless is in that film.
Essentially, yes.
And so like I don't know. It seems like you're kind of getting the worst of both worlds, right? Because you aren't having the freedom of animation, but you have the limitation of real life. But the story is not serious enough to be taken seriously in real life. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's an amazing
That
story,
is a
amazing character, stuff like that.
It's a phenomenal
and
franchise.
I think I don't know. I'll definitely go see it and watch it. I just don't. I don't get the point. What are you adding? No one was asking for
It's
this.
a money grab. It's
I didn't
easy.
wake up and go, you know what? I love How to Train Your Dragon. You know what would be better if it was in real life?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, to be fair, as far as graphics upgrades go, like How to Train Your Dragon 1 is definitely the worst looking film of the three films just because it's the oldest, but it doesn't matter. It's animated. It still sells it really well.
I would say How to Train Your One is the best out of the trilogy.
Probably the best story. Yeah, definitely the best story.
I don't
But,
like How to Train Your
animation-wise.
Dragon 3.
Wait, really?
I do not like How to Train Your Dragon 3.
That's my favorite one, personally. I wouldn't say it's the best one, but it is my
I think
favorite.
one's
I love
my
it.
favorite. Two
I love
was
it.
okay.
And 3's the worst for you?
Maybe no.
I wasn't the biggest fan
I'm gonna
of
retake
2.
mine. I'm gonna do 1, 3, 2.
1, 3, 2.
I think 2 is definitely the worst out of the trilogy.
I think for me, I'm the reverse. I'm 3, 1, 2. I like 2 the least.
I don't know.
We agreed that 2 is the worst.
Yeah.
I think we agreed there.
Well, I think I just have a passion for it because if you didn't know, How to Train Your Dragon had a video game
Oh, really?
on the Wii.
Huh,
And it's
I
like
didn't know that.
it was like one of my favorite video games to
wow.
play. So maybe
That's
that
so cool.
ties into that.
Well, I do love How to Train Your Dragon. The score, dude. Oh my god.
Phenomenal score.
The composer for How to Train Your Dragon is Alex Seaver's favorite and most inspired composer, which is the composer for Arcane. So,
Really?
Yeah. So he one of the biggest reasons he got into it was because of How to Train Your Dragon's score, because he thought it was so good and inspired him to get into film. So
Interesting.
That's kind of cool. All right, let's get into the real content of this podcast. We thought it would be interesting to talk about burnout, specifically creative burnout, and kind of how we should, as creatives, approach avoiding burnout, what to do when you have burnout.
Yeah.
So, Devin, I'm curious, what in your life have you found to be the most common situation in which do you get burnout pretty often, or is it more of a rare thing for you?
I think it's more of a rare thing for me in a sense. The bad thing is when I get burnout, I hit it hard. Like the wall definitely hits me.
Burn out?
So for example, this past semester, I think I hit it the most because not only did I make my film, but I assisted on 4 other films. And what was bad is your film was split into two separate portions, which was out of our hands. Like we couldn't control what happened. But it was kind of bad because I had 2 projects between it. So I was starting to feel burned out, but I was like, I made this commitment. I want to do this film. This is part of my passion. And I was feeling myself starting to burn out. So after we got off, I fully hit it. So, I mean, my biggest thing is definitely know your limits before you commit to things. Actually full on look how the semester's going to go. Because I think all of our peers also did that. I think we all were just in such a creative headspace. We're like, oh, we can help each other.
Of course.
And then by the end of it, we were all aggravated in a sense because we were all mentally burned out.
We were done. Yeah.
Because of how much it truly was. So my top notes I will say for burnout is to 1, obviously let your yes be your yes. If you commit to something, commit to it, but don't overbook yourself.
It's better to say no first and come back and be like, oh, actually I do have time, than to do the reverse.
Right. Because think about if you go to a buffet, there's an endless option you could have, but you're going to run your limit. When you run your limit, you're not going to be able to eat constantly.
Right.
So,
but dude, the scary part of that is, think of it in the analogy like this. If I've got my plate all full and then I'm going by and I see the breadsticks, I'm like, man, I want a breadstick, but I don't know if I can have room for a breadstick.
Right.
But then you're like, but man, look at all these people behind me. There's 20 people behind me. What if they take all the breadsticks?
Right.
I should just take one now so I have it.
Right.
But if I come back around, what if there's no more breadsticks?
But
this is the mentality I get into, because I'm like, opportunities don't come every day, and so I have the typically I just want to say yes to everything.
Or when you eat that breadstick, you feel terrible because you try to shove it down.
Well, that's the thing. It's even if it is a great opportunity, it's not going to be a great opportunity for you if you squander it because you're so burnt out.
So another note is, a lot of people get into the fear of, well, if I say no, like you just said, there's not going to be enough left, or that person's never going to come back to me.
Yeah.
If you keep an honest relationship with them, they're going to, or I would hope they would respect your honesty and be like, look, I would love to help, but at the same time, there's just so much that I'm going through. If another opportunity comes up, please give me a call, talk to me. I'd love to help you then. So I would definitely say, don't fear about losing an opportunity. Obviously, there are going to be those opportunities that it's going to be like, it's either now or never.
Right.
But make sure you're prioritizing yourself before anything.
And on the other hand, if you do kind of leave your schedule a little bit more open than you probably could, when those massive opportunities do come, you'll have time to take them, right? That's another good point too, because if you just say yes to all the lowly stuff, you don't know what's coming down the pike, you know what I'm saying? So that's a good point. I think, obviously, how do you get over burnout? Let's say you've already made the mistake, you are burnt out,
right?
But you still have more work to do ahead of you. How do you get over that hump?
I would say definitely first, at least take a breath. Realize it's going to be okay.
You mean physically, or
physically and mentally? Physically and mentally, take a breath and have a day or two where you do nothing. If you rot in your bed for a day or two, that's perfectly fine. Your brain functions at a phenomenal rate, but it's going to need to slow down every once in a while. So if you know that the majority of your work is over, but you still have the breadcrumbs left to pick up, in between those like moments, take it slow. Do like minimal things. Don't rush into things, because the worst thing that I think people do is when they get burned out, they more tend to rush through things because they just want it to be over. And then that's going to affect you more than you know it, because let's say you're supposed to be working on a project and you rush through it, you're going to miss the smaller details that can actually affect you the most, because you were just like, if I get this done, everything's going to be fine. So I'm just going to knock it out now. And then you get your grade, or you see truly how the project happened, and it's just not up to your standards.
Right. Yeah, I think one of my really bad tendencies is that when I have free time, I tend to fill that free time with like hobbies, which can be a great thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of my hobbies are like also very brain intensive. Like if I'm doing like working on a really hard film project and I finally have like an hour or two free time, I'll go work on music, or I'll go like work on some project I've been putting off. So I end up just doing more. It's just more work. It's not work for my job, but it is like work. And it sucks because like I enjoy doing whatever that thing is, but I'm not actually giving my brain a true rest, you know?
Right.
Like sometimes it can be like if I'm doing something that's not mentally intensive, go ride one wheel, or, go climbing or something like that. That's not mentally intensive. It's physically intensive, but that can actually sometimes help, But I do have a tendency to fill my free time with other projects because I'm like, oh, well, it's not work, so it is like rest or whatever. But really, it's not. It actually can be helpful to really do something that is, brain dead in a sense, or at least, physically stimulating rather than mentally stimulating. But yeah, I think last semester for me, I was thinking about this the other day and like how I managed last semester, because I really had a huge workload, and I did have spaces in between, but most of those were filled with prepping for the next thing typically. I think the first half I did really, really well managing stuff, but I think in the second half, rather than not getting burned out and taking breaks, I think I just learned to cope with working while being burned out. I think I kind of just figured out how to train myself to, even when my body and my brain is telling me to stop, just to kind of power
to keep
through
pushing,
and learn how to do that. And while it was effective for accomplishing a lot of things in a short amount of time, I will say towards the very end, especially on the second half of my film, at the very end, when we were like in those last 3 days of shooting, my brain my brain started to not function. There would be times where Jason, our first AD, would ask me something, and I would literally, my brain would break. I wouldn't be able to speak. I wouldn't be able to respond, because I'd be like, I heard every word you said, but my brain is not comprehending how to respond or how to solve this problem.
Right.
And especially when I got into planning shots for the next day or whatever, I realized I would stare at my iPad with Shot Designer up for 10 minutes and realize I'm not doing anything. I'm just staring at the screen and my brain's literally not working. And so that's the point where I realized, I was like, man, there is a certain amount of burnout that I can't push through.
Right.
Because I do think it is important to learn how to push through burnout, because sometimes in life you get in a bad situation and man, you got to get the work done. And so you've got to learn how to power through. But at a certain point, your work will just start to really suffer.
Yeah, you gotta know your limits.
And I will say, like, the only reason I was even able to do anything during that time was because I had so many great people to rely on, like you and Jason and all these amazing people surrounding me that were able to kind of like notice that and pick up the slack and help me. And so that's really helpful to surround yourself. But obviously, it's even better if you don't get yourself into that situation. If you can kind of, take care of yourself.
That's definitely a good point, is to have a network of people that are just beside you, that like when you have those moments of burnout, that can be a shoulder to lean on and be like, hey, listen, I'm really like going through it and then my mind just is burnt out. Can you just help me with these smaller things to make sure I'm not missing the bigger picture? So that's definitely good.
And like those people that if you work with people long enough, you like, it's helpful because you start to be able to recognize each other's habits and patterns. Like I know there was one night on my film that it was towards the end of the day and I was starting to get tired. And Jason realized it before I realized it, which was a whole weird, because Jason was like, are you okay? You're getting tired, I can tell. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought I was fine. Right. And then like a few minutes later, I I didn't break down, but like I like couldn't answer a question. And like my brain did that thing where my brain broke, and I realized like, oh man, Jason was right. Like he could tell that I was getting tired.
That's also a good point to bring up, because as that role, that's also his job to be like,
that's true.
Watch people and like especially watch you as your AD. Be like, okay,
know how to do that.
The director his brain is gone out the window. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah. So yeah, burnout. It's tough, but especially that's another thing to do with the type of creative work that we do. A lot of it is you have to kind of, in a sense, be in a good mood to do it. Like you have to learn how to do it when you're not in the mood. That's just kind of the reality of it.
Yeah.
But I've found it's really, really difficult for me to think creatively if I'm in a bad mood. But I can't be, I can't only work when I'm in a good mood. Otherwise, nothing would ever get done, because like our emotions are, fickle and you never know what you're going to be feeling that day. So what I've kind of learned as a better strategy is before you sit down to work on a session, whether it's planning shots or, doing editing or whatever it is, do something to get yourself into the mood to do it rather than just powering through and making yourself do stuff, because your work's going to be crap if you just try to make yourself do it when you don't feel like it. It's better to take 5 minutes and figure out what gets you in the mood. For me, what gets me in the mood is watching a scene from a really good movie or listening to music. Music is huge. If I listen to a music that's in the genre of the thing I'm trying to make, that is huge. That will really inspire me and get me excited about making it. And so I think that's another good thing is like, when you're burnt out, when you're feeling burnt out or feeling tired, feel like, man, I really don't want to do this. Figure out what works for your brain and what gets you excited about whatever the thing is you're trying to do, and do that first before going into it. Because obviously you'll just work better and you'll work faster if you're excited about it rather than just trying to power through.
Another thing about burnout that's probably like the biggest thing is, so everybody knows like when you're burnt out or tired, your attitude starts to change a little bit. So whenever you see yourself or even hear yourself, like your attitude changing, because like we get it, like when everybody gets tired, we kind of just want to go in our own world and be like, everything like stop around me so I can just mentally like rest. So if you see yourself starting to get a negative output and a negative look upon things, definitely take a step back. And one, if you do get in a conversation where you see yourself not answering the best or kind of being more defensive, definitely before that conversation ends, apologize to the person, because while you know that you're burnt out, they don't know that. So to them, you're just mad. You're just mad or being mean. And for somebody that might be starting in the industry, like that's definitely not a good look for you, because somebody can be like, well, that person has an attitude because when I talked to them, they were just yelling and grumpy, and that's not going to help you. That's going to be a negative impact, because the sad thing about our world is sometimes people don't give the chance to you to get to know you. So they hear one story from one person that, well, Josiah yelled at me one time when truly I don't think Josiah meant to. He was either tired or focused on one thing. Like, definitely take a step back, and if you see yourself going down a bad road, just like before that conversation ended, that person leaves, be like, hey, I realized I might have said something that was a little bit defensive or a little bit aggressive. I apologize for that. And just explain, I have a lot going on, or I've been working a ton. I hope that we continue to have a great day or a great time on the project or something like that. Yeah,
because like people won't give you the benefit of the doubt if they don't know you.
Correct. Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, something that I often find myself doing, which is really bad, and to not let myself do this, is that, and I think we all do this, is that because we know our friends and family will give us the benefit of the doubt, we tend to have lower standards with them. Like, I'll more quickly yell at my best friend than like someone who's day one on the project. You know what I'm saying? Because like I, in a sense, feel like I need to be professional around them, which is totally backwards, right? Because like your best friend, like you should, in a sense, treat them the best, right? Because they care about you the most and stuff like that. Obviously, we should treat everyone equally good, but I think that's another thing, is that I need to watch myself and make sure that I am not speaking badly to the people closest to me. Especially, this is really common for me. If I work a really long, hard day and I come home and like my family is like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Or whatever. They want to like have a conversation and catch up with me. Yeah. I'm in no mental place to be able to talk to anyone. I just need to go in my room and shut down. And so oftentimes I'll give like really short, curt answers, or just not be fun to be around. Just be like, just have a chip on my shoulder. When really I'm not mad at them. They didn't do anything wrong. So I've also been trying to get better, like when I come home at the end of the day, to make sure that I'm coming home like with a smile on my face. And even if I had to be like, hey, I'm sorry, I just need a break. I can't really talk right now. I need to go and sleep. And they would understand, rather than just being like, oh, don't talk to me and then leaving or whatever. Right. So yeah, learning how to treat the people in your life well. But again, the best thing to do is just not get in that situation by not burning out.
Correct.
So you don't even get there. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, to wrap up the podcast, let's go ahead and go into our rewind segment. Devin,
Yeah.
would you like to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. So, my film is the year. You ready?
So for anyone who doesn't know how rewind works, we each pick a film, like usually an old film,
Yeah.
and we give the other person the name of the film, the year it came out, and based entirely on that, the other person has 1 minute to guess what that film is about.
And they can have one hint.
Yes.
But the tricky part about the person that knows the film, that's like having the other person guess, is that hint has to be not only good in a sense, but it can't reveal too much because then you might lose.
Exactly.
All right. So my film is from the year 1971.
Okay.
The title of it, THX 1138.
What? THX? All right, start the timer.
All right. THX 1138 is the title. Okay, ready? And go.
THX. I side note, I learned what THX stands for. It's a dude's name who designed the audio system. 1134?
No, 113. 1138.
I'm sure that matters so much.
1138.
THX 1138. Okay. 1971. So definitely before THX came out because that was developed by Star Wars a little bit later. I'm going to guess that this film is about a army of clones and one of them turns and tries to set himself free, and his identifier is THX 1138, 34, whatever it is.
1138.
1138. And the film is about him kind of taking off the proverbial mask over his eyes and understanding what he really is, and then rebelling against the system and then trying to free everyone else. That is my guess of what that film is about.
That's your guess?
Yes. How close was I?
You had 4 seconds left.
I had 4
in the
seconds
timer.
left. Wow.
So you were actually close in a sense. You were definitely on the right track.
Okay.
So
It's not about the audio system THX?
no, it's not about the audio system THX.
I was worried. I was like, is this a documentary?
So this follows two patients in a world. So I'll just read it.
Yeah, read it to me.
In the future, mankind lives in a vast underground cities, and free will is outlawed by means of mandatory medication that controls human emotion. But when THX 1138 and Lu 3417 stop taking their meds, they wake up to the bleak reality of their own existence and fall in love with each other in the process. But love is also illegal. And
Love is illegal?
love is illegal in this dystopia, and the act of making love has made both of them outlaws on the run from the army of robotic police.
What a film concept. That's wild.
So you were on the right track for breaking free of the system.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. Well, THX 1138.
Hey, this movie also has
Dude, 70s had the weirdest interesting films.
this movie also has really good reviews on it.
Really?
Yeah.
We should watch it. I'm so curious, dude. Okay, all right. Your film, I'm going to give you the stuff and I'll set the timer. So your film, the title is $10,000 Blood Money. The year of release is 1967.
Okay.
Your timer has started.
Oh, give me my hint.
Oh, you want a hint?
Yeah.
Oh, I never
You
asked
never used your hint.
I never
so
used my hint.
I'm gonna use my
Your
hint.
hint is the word opportunist.
And it's called 10,000 Blood Money.
10,000 Blood Money, 1967. Opportunist is the hint.
All right. My guess is that it's about. I don't know. I can't decide if I want to go with a group of people or one person. But if you say opportunist,
Well, it was singular, so
singular, so I'm going to go with one person. One person has a job, not like a normal job, like a heist or something like that type of job, where he has to get it done no matter what. And that might be getting his hands dirty, hinting towards blood, blood in the title. So he has to get his hands dirty to make sure he gets what he wants, and he doesn't care what's in his way. That's my guess.
10 seconds left on the clock. That's really good. That's actually really good. So I will read you the description. It is you were kind of on the right track. So here's the description: hired by it's a Western.
Okay.
Hired by a Mexican landowner
All right.
to rescue the landowner's daughter from a bandit.
All right.
Our main character, a bounty hunter, instead joins the crook on a heist to obtain a higher payout, leading to a tragic double cross.
Wow.
So you were pretty good.
I was on the right track.
So this bounty hunter goes to rescue this daughter, and when he meets the crook, he's, yo, instead of rescuing this guy's daughter, why don't you just join me and we go on a heist?
We go make
and I'll
a bunch
give you
of
even
money.
more money. And so yes. So it was about a heist and a double cross.
So both of us were on the right track.
We were both on the right track. We were doing pretty well, I'd say.
If we were playing basketball, we both hit the rim but didn't make it.
Exactly. All right. Well, that will do it for take 3 for the Circle That podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening.